What's up, people? Today, you know me, I am what you need. And you can subscribe to my channel as well as donate to my channel via Western Union or MoneyGram. Of course, the online donations will come very soon. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about it. I'm going to talk to you guys about Maypac 2. Looks like it's coming. I'm going to tell you why. We see Manny Pacquiao a lot in the news, and even some surfacing claims that he is the greatest of all time, which I myself say there is an argument for that. But in addition to that, they're even talking about this era, him being better than Floyd Mayweather, which leads to, of course, the conversation once again, and probably something that will promote Maypac 2. In fact, one trainer, when asked the question, is Manny Pacquiao better than Floyd Mayweather, said, and this trainer being Nate Diaz Trainer for Nate Diaz MMA UFC bout that's upcoming, he said, Manny Pacquiao is a real fighter, whereas Floyd Mayweather is a runner. Where did this claim that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a runner come from? I was listening in my comment section when I put out my video about Manny Pacquiao being the greatest people's champion. One person said and claimed that Manny Pacquiao was like Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard and all the all-time greats like Roberto Duran because he never ducked or dodged anyone, whereas Floyd Mayweather had not faced Paul Williams, Antonio Margarito, Miguel Cotto when he was young and in his prime, Shane Mosley when he was young and in his prime. This is what the claims are out there. Now, where did these claims originate from? I'm going to talk to you guys about that right now. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, for me to do that, I'm going to go into the all-time rank ratings as well as BoxRec to show you guys and comment on the progress of where this came from. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was not always promoted by Mayweather Promotions, his own company. He was actually promoted by Top Rank. He started off in boxing under Top Rank, moved all the way up to junior welterweight, which is this division here. And at the end of junior welterweight, he ended up going on to welterweight and having 2 fights. That's as far as he went with Top Rank. Now, for you to understand the context in which I'm about to tell you about the originator of the claim that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a ducker and a runner, you have to first of all understand what the circumstances look like at junior welterweight. So at junior welterweight in 2004, Costa Zoo was the lineal champion. That's why I'm using Ring Magazine. Costa Zoo was the lineal champion. Arturo Gatti, he was the WBC champion. Vivian Harris was the IBF champion. And Miguel Cotto was the WBO champion. So when Floyd entered that division in 2004, these were the champions that he met there. Now, Mayweather would go on to face DeMarcus Corley, then face Henry Bruselis. The Henry Bruselis fight was actually supposed to be a Vivian Harris fight. Floyd was actually supposed to have a championship bout, even though he did a WBC eliminator. It actually was supposed to be a championship bout he was supposed to face against Vivian Harris, the IBF champion, who priced himself out, so according to Bob Arum at least. He priced himself out, and so Vivian Harris did not get that fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr. Instead, he faced Carlos Mauser, who defeated him, and in 2005, Carlos Mauser became the IBF world champion. So Vivian Harris changed hands. Floyd did an eliminator to face Arturo Gatti, which he faced in the beginning of 2005, and he beat Arturo Gatti, the WBC champion. Just so you guys understand what I'm talking about, I'm actually going to go across the Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s records so you can see that, okay, and understand what I'm talking about. Alright, so in 2004, he entered the junior welterweight division, and in 2005, he faced Henry Bruselis, as well as he faced Arturo Gatti. He was able to defeat Arturo Gatti and become the WBC super lightweight world champion. Now, after he had beaten Henry Bruselis, he had made a certain request. He said, look, man, I'm looking forward to facing Costa Zoo or Arturo Gatti or Oscar De La Hoya, who's at welterweight, which is a division above, or Shane Mosley, who was at super welterweight at the time. Okay? Now, Floyd Mayweather Jr., as I said before, if you look here, you would see he entered welterweight here. Junior welterweight here. He faced DeMarcus Corley. He then faced Henry Bruselis in 2005. Henry Bruselis, by the way, was trained by Miguel Cotto's trainer. And actually, they were thinking about having Miguel Cotto face Floyd Mayweather at super lightweight or junior welterweight. But after he dispatched of Henry Bruselas, they didn't say it wasn't a good idea, so they just left that alone. All right, but then he faced Arturo Gatti, and he beat Arturo Gatti. Now, after he beat Arturo Gatti, here's a couple things that happened. Costa Tszyu got beaten by Ricky Hatton, and because Costa Tszyu did not face Floyd Mayweather because his arm was damaged, so he was actually out of boxing for a little bit. And when he came back into boxing, he faced Ricky Hatton, who beat him. Vivian Harris got beat by Carlos Mauser. Carlos Mauser got beaten by Ricky Hatton. Miguel Cotto still remains standing. So the standings, when Floyd Mayweather Jr. left the junior welterweight division and moved up, because he did not stay there because he was too big, he left the junior welterweight division, was Ricky Hatton was the lineal champion, Miguel Cotto was the WBO champion still, and Ricky Hatton was not just the WBA world champion, but he was also the IBF world champion. He had 2 belts. Okay? Miguel Cotto had 1. Floyd Mayweather vacated his WC belt, so somebody had to go and face for his WBC belt. He went on to face Shambe Mitchell to get acclimatized to the welterweight division in 2005, and that was the only fight he had after that. So he had Arturo Gatti and he had Shambe Mitchell. His last fight on his top-ranked contract was against Zab Judah. Floyd always wanted to face, like he indicated in the Henry Bruselas fight, Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley. And Bob Arum had promised him those 2 fights and never gave him those 2 fights. So what happened was, at the end of 2006, Floyd bought out his contract with Bob Arum after the Zab Judah fight. Now, what happened in the Zab Judah fight, so people will understand, is Zab Judah was supposed to face Floyd Mayweather. They made a contract, and Zab Judah had this little fight that he had to face, which was Carlos Baldomir. But Carlos Baldomir wasn't no joke. He came from Argentina. He was awkward as hell, and he was on a 22-fight winning streak. And Carlos Baldomir beat Zab Judah, who was actually the undisputed welterweight champion of the world, Zab Judah, because he beat Corey Spinks to get that title. He defended correctly once, and then he was beaten by Carlos Baldomir. But Floyd had already, and Top Rank had already made a contract with Zab Judah. It was supposed to be an undisputed fight. It turned out to be just a fight for the IBF championship because Carlos Baldomir did not pay the sanctioning fees for the WBA and the IBF belts. Because that's another thing. Zab Judah was the undisputed champion, but he only had 3 belts. The undisputed champion at that time did not involve the WBO belt. Nonetheless, Zab Judah, he got beaten by Carlos Baldomir. Floyd faced Zab Judah still under the top-ranked card. And people protested that. People said, look, man, you didn't face the real lineal champion. Carlos Baldomir is the real lineal champion. So there was that rumoring in the air that Floyd wasn't facing the true lineal champion. Compound that with the fact that when we look at the welterweight division that Floyd had entered, this is what the welterweight division looked like at the time. So in 2006, Floyd Mayweather entered the welterweight division. He beat Zab Judah, but Carlos Baldomir, remember, beat Zab Judah. So he was a lineal champion at the time. This is at the end of 2006, but during 2006, Carlos Baldomir was the lineal champion. Okay? And then Zab Judah was displaced, so Antonio Margarito became the other champion in that was next in line. So after Floyd had beat Zab Judah, Antonio Margarito became the next champion to look at. And this is the reason why. Antonio Margarito became world champion in 2002. And he had been a WBO welterweight champion from 2002 all the way up to 2007. So all during this time when Floyd Mayweather Jr. entered the welterweight division, Antonio Margarito was a world champion. And Bob Arum wanted Floyd to face Antonio Margarito. But Floyd bought out his contract from Top Rank because Floyd was wanting a fight with Oscar De La Hoya. And so because he bought out his contract, he was able to get that fight with Oscar De La Hoya the following year, and they signed a contract for that. But then because people were protesting that Floyd didn't face the real lineal champion, he took on Carlos Baldomir. And Carlos Baldomir, he beat Carlos Baldomir. So because Floyd was no longer with Top Rank, and because Bob Arum wanted Floyd to face Antonio Margarito, Bob Arum came up with the original claim that maybe Floyd's afraid to face Antonio Margarito. This is where this whole origination of Floyd is a runner, he's a coward, he's duck fighters came from. Bob Arum, his original top-ranked trainer, just like what Bob Arum's doing today with Terrence Crawford, saying that all the other welterweights are afraid to face Terrence Crawford, is the very same strategy he's used time and time and time again to deface really good fighters. And you guys have bitten the bullet time and time again. It's the same thing he said about Manny Pacquiao. Oh, Floyd's afraid to face Manny Pacquiao. Okay? And you guys literally believed this, and you guys went with that and said, oh, yeah, Floyd's ducking this one, and Floyd's ducking that one, and Floyd's ducking like idiots. And I'm just tired of the bullshit and the lies. So that's why I'm doing this video once again. I did it before. This is where it all came from. Okay? So here's what happened. And now you will understand why Floyd Mayweather Jr. never faced Antonio Margarito. We're going to go actually into it now. So, Floyd Mayweather Jr. beat Carlos Baldomir, became the lineal champion. And so at the end of 2006, Floyd was the lineal champion. Antonio Margarito, long-reigning welterweight champion, was a champion there. Floyd wanted to face Oscar De La Hoya. So Floyd faced Oscar De La Hoya next in 2007. Okay? And you just go and look at it in Floyd's resume right here. He did not face Antonio Margarito. He faced Oscar De La Hoya. Alright, so in 2007, as you can see right here, Floyd faced Oscar De La Hoya. Now, in 2007, after Floyd had faced Oscar De La Hoya, Antonio Margarito had a fight. In 2007, Antonio Margarito had a fight rostered. Instead of facing Floyd Mayweather, he ended up facing Paul Williams. And guess what happened in 2007? He lost that fight to Paul Williams. Okay? He lost it. So even if Floyd was finished facing Oscar De La Hoya, and now he maybe even wanted to face Antonio Margarito, guess what? He couldn't. Because Antonio Margarito was no longer WBO champion. He lost to Paul Williams. You want to see it? Let me show you. Let me show you. So in 2007, you can see Paul Williams right here. I'm going to go to Antonio Margarito. Okay. Floyd had just finished facing Oscar De La Hoya. He faced Oscar De La Hoya Cinco de Mayo, as everybody knows. That was the date that Floyd faced him. And Antonio Margarito, in July of that year, lost to Paul Williams. Okay, so he was no longer WBO champion. Okay? Alright. Now, after that, Paul Williams came out and said, man, I want Floyd Mayweather Jr. Paul Williams now called out Floyd Mayweather Jr. after that, in July of that year. But by then, Floyd had gotten a fight with Ricky Hatton. Now, if you guys remember, Ricky Hatton was one of the top guys in the junior welterweight or light welterweight division. I showed you guys that. So was Miguel Cotto. Okay? And all the other guys, it was just him and Miguel Cotto. Alright? So Floyd faced Ricky Hatton next. And the reason why he faced Ricky Hatton next was because in 2007, though Miguel Cotto had risen up the ranks, as you can see there, and became #1 contender, this was after the fact that Floyd Mayweather Jr. had beaten Ricky Hatton. And Ricky Hatton had gone up. In fact, I can show you this, so let me go ahead and show you. All right? So, but first, Paul Williams. Let me just show you guys. Paul Williams, in 2007, July of 2007, beat Antonio Margarito. Okay? He called out Floyd. Floyd instead faced Ricky Hatton in September of that year. By February of that year, Paul Williams' next fight, which he had scheduled with Carlos Quintana because Floyd was facing Ricky Hatton, he lost to Carlos Quintana. So Paul Williams didn't even stay and defend his title. He lost the very next fight. So he didn't even hold on to his title. So Antonio Margarito lost his next fight, and so did Paul Williams. So Floyd couldn't duck Paul Williams because he wasn't even world champion. All right, but let's just keep it moving. So, Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton, get out of this. Ricky Hatton, everybody was claiming that Floyd was ducking Ricky Hatton because Floyd had moved up to welterweight, even though he was too big now for super. He was too big for super lightweight or junior welterweight. So he had moved up to welterweight. Ricky Hatton moved up to welterweight too and had a welterweight fight, and he had beaten Louis Collazo. He beat Louis Collazo. Okay, hold on a second. Let me get to Ricky Hatton here. So Ricky Hatton happened in 2007. I'm trying to show you guys because I want you guys to see this. So Ricky Hatton in 2006 faced Louis Collazo. So when Floyd moved up in 2006 and faced Zab Judah, and then he faced Carlos Baldomir, the end of the year, Ricky Hatton in that same year moved up to welterweight and beat Louis Collazo. All right? Ricky Hatton actually moved up. And Ricky Hatton wanted that fight with Floyd Mayweather. And the fans started demanding it. So since 2006, there was a demand for Ricky Hatton to face Floyd Mayweather. Okay, so it took until 2007, the end of 2007, as you can see there, that Floyd Mayweather Jr. ended up facing Ricky Hatton after he had beaten Juan Urango and then Jose Luis Castillo was an opponent of Floyd Mayweather, right? And so Ricky Hatton faced Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Floyd Mayweather Jr. beat Ricky Hatton. All right? Now, the important thing to understand is when Ricky Hatton beat Louis Collazo, he simply vacated his title. And what happened there was that Miguel Cotto took up the title that Ricky Hatton dropped. So if you do see, 2006, Ricky Hatton beat Louis Collazo, dropped the title later on in 2006. And if we go somewhere back here, 2007, okay, in 2007, nope, 2006, 2006, Miguel Cotto fights for the vacant WBA world title. It's vacant because Ricky Hatton vacated it. So Ricky Hatton won it in 2006, and Cotto picked it up in 2006, facing Carlos Quintana. All right. So he went on to be the WBA welterweight champion. He beat Oktay Urkel the same year Floyd was fighting in, and then so in March of 2006 he beat Oktay Urkel. Floyd went on to face Oscar De La Hoya. And in June of 2006, he also faced Zab Judah and beat him, okay, when Floyd didn't do anything yet. And then in the end of the year, he faced Shane Mosley. And he beat Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley was going to knock him out, though. And then Floyd went on to face Ricky Hatton that year. So Miguel Cotto was now shaping up to be a guy that Floyd could face. All right? But here's what happened. So Floyd, he beat Shane Mosley. Floyd now says he's going to retire from boxing, but Floyd doesn't retire until 2008, actually. He actually leaves the picture at the end of 2008. His belt is actually relinquished in 2008. But in April of 2008, Miguel Cotto goes and loses to Antonio Margarito. July of 2008, he loses to Antonio Margarito. So even Miguel Cotto, he also now is not in the equation. Antonio Margarito's back in the equation. See, right here. Okay? So Antonio Margarito now gets the WBA belt. But you got to understand that Miguel Cotto had Ricky Hatton's belt. So that's why Floyd faced Ricky Hatton first. Okay? Maybe he was going to face he's going to face Miguel Cotto after, but then Miguel Cotto goes and loses to Antonio Margarito. So Floyd just stays out of boxing for 2008, comes back into boxing in 2009. So this whole claim that Floyd Mayweather Jr. was a ducker and a runner, he was ducking Paul Williams. He didn't duck Paul Williams. Couldn't duck Paul Williams. Paul Williams didn't stick around long enough for him to duck him. He didn't duck Miguel Cotto, and Miguel Cotto was one of the guys coming up with Ricky Hatton, obviously. He didn't duck Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto came out of the picture before Floyd could even do anything to say he was going to face Miguel Cotto. All right, he didn't duck also. He didn't duck Ricky Hatton because he faced Ricky Hatton, right? So the claims that Floyd ducked these different guys, then the Shane Mosley thing is really fun because Shane Mosley came now, and Antonio Margarito's next fight was against Shane Mosley, and Shane Mosley beat Antonio Margarito. So these champions are not sticking around long enough. Then Shane Mosley gets beat by Floyd Mayweather, so they're not staying around long enough when Floyd Mayweather came on the scene for them to actually face Floyd Mayweather. And it's funny because Antonio Margarito was this long reigning champion, mainly because he wasn't fighting guys that were really credible and guys that were really going to trouble him or challenge him. That was one of the main reasons why he was a long-reigning WBO champion. But even besides that, though, these guys kept on switching hands so rapidly, right, that how could Floyd face one of them? By the time he makes a contract, you don't know, it could be another fighter who's... You saw what happened with Zab Judah. He made a contract with Zab Judah. Zab Judah ends up losing the fight. All right? So this is the reason why you can't say that Floyd ducked any of these guys. And anyhow you take it, he ended up facing Miguel Cotto. He ended up facing Shane Mosley. Okay? He did not end up facing Paul Williams because Paul Williams moved up in weight afterwards. He did win back his title from Carlos Quintana, but then he just moved up in weight. And Antonio Margarito, well, after he had been beaten by Shane Mosley, he moved up also to super welterweight. Okay? Even though Floyd forced Miguel Cotto at super welterweight, that was after Miguel Cotto had beaten Antonio Margarito again. Okay, so Antonio was beaten goods. Paul Williams had moved up to middleweight by that time. So I'm just saying that there was no real way how Floyd could have faced these fighters, because these fighters, they never gave themselves a chance long enough for him to face them. All they had to do was stay world champion, and they couldn't even do that. So all I'm saying is, you can't call a guy ducking fighters when the fighters can't even maintain their status for the fighter to even face them. And so I just want to set the record straight. He never ducked or dodged anybody in boxing, including Manny Pacquiao, who, by the way, let's talk about that one. Manny Pacquiao's team, and even Freddie Roach said it, they were guilty of pulling out of the negotiations. Bob fucking Arum again pulled out of negotiations and decided to face Joshua Clottey because they thought that Floyd was pulling too much rank, that, you know, he's not a governing body, so who is he to tell them to use USADA testing? Okay? So they just pulled out, okay? And that's the way how that went. It wasn't Floyd ducked them. If anything, they ducked Floyd. They did not want to fight Floyd because they felt he was putting too many stipulations on the table, which now in retrospect they realized was important to have. He was a pioneer, you know, having people tested for drug testing by an independent body. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. You can also donate to my channel. Remember, you can donate to my channel. I'm trying to get that online donation going. All right? You guys have a good one.